There we go. Now we're recording. Okay, it's 28th of July. We're well beyond the halfway point. Halfway to the end of the show this year. All right. Anybody got anything they want to start up with?
I have a share.
Okay, cool. Go for it.
Okay. There's an organization known LosAngelesScore.org. So let me actually use the chat because this is going to be beneficial to all of us. So it's Los Angeles. Now I'm in a rush, so now my spelling goes out the window.
So it's
right.
score,
yes,
like score a goal.
Yes, LosAngelesScore.org, and I'm not sure if that's a double S there. I do such things automatically. I don't know, but let me get to the nut of the shell, and then we move out from there. Okay. So Los Angeles Score had a webinar on Monday of this week, hosted by a woman named Linda. Let me go ahead and put her name in. Linda Hollander. That I got right. Now, what it was, she has now a course, and we're not going to go into the money, but we'll get into the idea. But the idea is getting money from sponsors, and it's like duh. I attend a lot of conferences, and I walk in, I see the word sponsors and all these big names, and then okay, they bought commercial time. The truth of the matter is, not really. What they bought was goodwill and publicity, and you don't have to pay the money back. And I was under a mass misimpression that when you see sponsors at other charity events, that they were like they have to be nonprofits. The bottom line is, I mean, I go to imn.org. That's a financial conference. This is money for profit organization, and John well aware of my thing in there. But the bottom line I'm coming to is that Linda related how she got her business off the ground by getting her first sponsorship from Bank of America. And from that, she learned how to do it. So with the bottom line out of that one, so now we ran an hour and a half. The bottom line is there is a set procedure and protocol to go to people and say, I would like to have your sponsorship. Bank of America was one that she cited. Walmart was another one that she cited. And then she says all the big companies do it. It's the question of how you're going to ask, number one. Number two, why are you asking? And number three, why they would do it. Now, the ultimate thing about why they would do it is this. They want to be able to show to the community or the attendees that they are a good community partner. That's the point. It's goodwill. That's what they're pushing out. They're not pushing out, oh, we sponsored Gregory Santana and we gave him his money for his commercials and all. No, we must show that we sponsor Gregory Santana as a small business, as a small startup, and that he's doing good for the community. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for that benefit of you edifying them. It goes back to being edification, correct? When you go on the stage and the MC say, John Limbacher, he does this, he does that, he's been in business for 25 years, and here he is. That's the whole point. You edify them because they have sponsored you to get your feet off the ground. Now, third, they would look for the business, but that's in the back burner. The real front burner is they want what's the word? They want that halo. They want that praise that they're a good community contribution to the business community at hand. Not the community in general, but like if I'm going to be targeting my financial world, then I'm that whoever sponsors me is going to be that they're good for that they're a good sponsor, they're a good community person in that realm. And it was exciting. I was like, holy cow. And so that's what I wanted to share with everybody right off the top, that if you're struggling for money, go and look up Linda Hollander, look up actual how to approach for sponsorship. It turns out there's a whole world out there. And I'm waiting for the link to come by, and there's another link that's going to come with my video that we saw on Monday. That's going to lead me to her, but you learn the right way of protocol. And here's the drawback. Okay, here's the drawback. Number one, if you do not do it right, you will not be invited back. That's it. If you go to Bank of America and you pitch that you want to get sponsorship and you don't do the proper protocols of answering their questions of how to set it all up or how to, what, the reasoning, the most important is that reasoning, you're gone. Why? Number two, the competition is become fierce, and it become fierce because the fact is the cat's out of the bag. Now, I dawned on myself. I was like, oh, I'm a dumb shit. I'll admit it. I'm a dumb shit. Here's why. I've been going to imn.org for 7 years. I see all the sponsors that are on that group. The thing is a mile long. And I know the level: premium, gold, platinum, gold, silver, bronze. And they're all sponsors. How to find sponsors? That's the next question. How would you guys find sponsors? Well, when you go to an event and you see the word sponsor and you see the people listed, grab their names. They've been down the road before. They're open to the door. They're not new. It's not you. It's not a cold call calling up somebody, Timbuktu in corporate, and says, "Hi, would you like to be my sponsor?" No, you're now able to go to tonight. I'm going to my course number 3 on operating a business, and today's fundraising. But the sponsor for that event is USB Bank and Edison. It's right there on the poster when we walk in the door. I already know those two. They okay. And you know what the crazy thing is that so the point is that that's how you have to do. You have to do that protocol so that you don't get rejected, because once you get rejected, you're out of the loop, and it's going to be in your competition. And then how to find sponsors would be when you see the word anybody says I'm a sponsor, they're fair game. They're absolutely fair game. Now, one thing I'm going to close off. I know some of you guys don't live in the region, but there is an event happening August. It's called Business Growth Expo on August 12th. It's located in the area. It's located at a resort called the Pacific Palms, which is Azusa. I know, and I know this might not apply to all of you because you don't live in the area. But what is this? This is where I'm going to pitch. Now that I don't know more about sponsorship, I already got lined up 6 companies for pitching crowd targeting. That's my main feature. But now I have a second request. What is your protocol to sponsor me? I'm going to ask them straightforward. We have a 10-minute one-on-one. I got Bank of America, AT&T, Universal, Disney, Northrop, and 2 others. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But the bottom line is that now that I know this, I am going to request their it's going to be, if you Google Business Growth Expo, you should be able to find that location. If I find the link during our conversation, I'll put it back up. But the bottom line is that you buy the platinum. The platinum is $125 if you buy it online. So $250 at the door. That 125 is going to give you access to pitch to 10 companies, 6 companies. You're going to get 6 out of 10. You're going to be able to pitch 6 out of 10 one-on-one, 10 minutes. So if you're ready to ask them for their business to buy your services, this is the opportunity to talk to a one-on-one. If you're looking, now that I know about sponsorship, like I learned 4 days ago, now I'm going to ask, that's going to be my ending question. It says, so what is your protocol to get you to sponsor me? Yeah, what's this going to hurt? They can say no. There's another avenue. Go find it on your own. I didn't lose anything. But if they open up, if I have 1 out of 6 open up and tell me how their thing is, I now have an entrance to a gold mine, and in turn bring it back to you guys. So that is my contribution for the money, for the money, for the morning. And Captain, it's all yours. Any questions?
I have one, Gregory.
Go ahead.
I appreciate what you offered, and I have a question for you. Would you like to sponsor me? To send me a check I'm going to put my, I'm going to get you, you get in on the ground level to sponsor me, my friend. I'm going to give you that opportunity. You think about it.
All right. So what is your market reach? What is your market criteria? And
Oh, that's the hard part. You're making my brain hurt with those
but
questions.
that's the protocol. That's exactly the first test. You're right. So anyway, let me get to the conference on the 12th and get that info. Captain, anybody else? Yours.
John, your mic's off.
Oh, that's why. Okay. I was talking and you weren't hearing me. But anyway, the sponsorship thing, like Gregory, I can tell you with no uncertainty what their protocol is to sponsor you. When you're talking about sponsorships and stuff like that, it's advertising. The reason they do it is eyeballs. So that's the whole thing behind it. It's just like any other form of advertising. Some will call it PR, but like look at NASCAR. You ever watch NASCAR? What's all over the cars, right? That's sponsorship. The guys that are running those cars, they can't afford to drive those cars. They can't afford to build those cars. The big companies and banks and particularly, like I had this at my local bank it was before the pandemic. It was probably 2019, 2018 in there. They actually reached out to me because they knew I was a business owner and they knew I had, customers all over, and they knew I had local customers too. And they wanted to sponsor me to actually use their conference room to put on trainings and bring people into their branch to do trainings. They have an actual training room. So I thought that was really interesting that they wanted me to put my trainings on in their facility and pay me to do it, just to get people in their door, because it was a small bank and they were trying to compete. So PR and being seen in the community, but it all comes back to eyeballs. And there's another thing I wanted to talk about a little bit today too, which I just saw a really good example of this, and I don't have it on this computer, but next week I'll make sure that I have it so I can go through it, because I know a lot of you like to see examples. You hear me talk about stuff, but you want to actually see the examples of it. So I'll do that next week, but it's a long form sales page and it's absolutely phenomenal. And it was done by Tony Robbins and Dean Graziosi. These are two guys that know marketing. And it's really interesting, if you look at their copy, you look at their bullets, you look at all their headlines all the way down the whole page, it's like you can point out stuff in the ACT program on every line. It's just like all of it is there in this one sales letter, and it's absolutely phenomenal. And they use celebrity endorsements for a lot of their stuff. And it's interesting, like, we talk about claim proof benefit to adjust people's thoughts and persuade them to swing our way to purchase our products and services. And celebrity endorsements do that phenomenally. And it's interesting because there's no grounds for it. There's no justification for it. They're not as expert in what we do, but just because somebody says it and they're known, like for instance, they used Matthew McConaughey, right? He's an actor. He's not known as being a businessman or, whatever they're using his endorsement for. It's just because everybody knows him. And it's like, we talk about this know, like, and trust. For somebody to purchase something from you, they have to know you, like you, and trust you. That's why video is so powerful. They get to see you, they get to know you. It's like when I go to seminars and conferences and stuff, and I can assure you there's way more people that know me than I know them, because I can stand on a stage and have 2,000 people in the audience, and by the time I'm done, they all feel like they know me. I don't know any of them. So it's kind of it's kind of a weird situation because they're coming up to you after the fact as you should know them and you don't. It's kind of weird. But when you get that, you know, Perry Belcher calls that the Oprah factor. It's a celebrity status. And there's no better way to sell to people than using celebrity status. You can either hire or buy a celebrity, or you can become one. And like I said, that Perry calls it the Oprah factor. When he told me about it, I didn't know what he was talking about. But after I experienced it, he was absolutely right on the money with it. Because he said, look, he goes, we're going to do the Oprah factor on you. And there's going to be, you know, tens of thousands of people that are going to know you and trust you virtually overnight. That was when I did the Rank Mogul thing for him. That was back in 2010. At that point, I was in total unknown in the internet marketing space. I mean, total unknown. Nobody knew me from Adam. I had already outpaced them by a decade in commercial work because I wasn't in the internet marketing space. I was in the commercial services provider space, providing, you know, SEO services, web development, e-commerce, you know, long before the internet marketing space was born. So he told me, he says, look, you know, he says, in about 45 minutes, you're going to have the Oprah factor sprinkled all over you, and your business is going to explode because of it. He was absolutely right. It's like you can take somebody that is a total unknown, you put them on the Oprah Winfrey show, Oprah interviews them. Now the world knows them. Part of the world will like them, and a little smaller part will trust them. So they just got a massive celebrity status. You'll never please everybody all the time. So, but the bigger the pie, the more. It's just like the funnel principle. You pour 1 million people in the top of the funnel, hoping that 10 shake out the bottom, right? That's
Hey,
the
John.
same thing. Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I had a couple questions on Site Pop.
Okay, sure.
I'm having a hard time just getting my head around it. I have the agency.
Okay.
And I guess what's confusing me is you mentioned, like, for example, you gave the illustration, if you have 5 projects, you could put them on, well, let me back up. What I'm confused is how many telephones do I need? I get confused because you said we can do 1,000, 25,000 searches with the agency.
Mhm.
And so,
So-
okay.
So every device, a device is what we call either a phone or a computer.
Mhm.
So every device that has a project attached to it will get 250 searches if it's connected to full time. The only caveat to that is the Android phones, you can actually load 5 projects into it. So that would count really as 5 devices on one.
But is
We
that
don't-
5 domains then? You talking about
It's
5
it's-
domains on one phone?
it's 5 projects. You can only put one of each of the types of project on there. Like you can put one Google project on a phone. You can put one Bing project on the same phone. You can put one YouTube project on the same phone. So you can put up to 5 each individual project on one phone. So that's like 5 projects knocked down with one device.
Okay, so
You
would that be
cannot-
5 domains though? Was that 5 domains? That's what's confusing me.
You cannot put 5 Google projects on a phone. It's one of each.
Okay, but can I do 5? Let's just say I have 5 unique domains. Can I use those 5 unique domains on one telephone? Because that technically that's 5 projects. And let's just say one's Google, one's Amazon, one's GMB. That's where I'm
Yes.
getting confused. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm able to do that. But if I have the agency, how many searches? That's what's confusing me. How many searches can I
So-
yeah, I have a number of clients and potential clients that I want to go ahead and put on my phones. I don't know how many phones or how many I can put. I don't want to buy any more phones than I have to, basically.
Sure.
If I can do them all, if I can do all these projects on 2 phones, that'd be
So-
great. but
So there's a couple of things there. It's how many searches do you want for the projects? Like
okay,
you want 500 project, you're going to need 2 phones for each Google project to get 500 searches.
okay. So that is just fixed. That's static, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because the way that works out, and the reason for 250 is we don't want anyone's phone in the network working overtime.
Okay.
We want them all to stay within a natural range. So if we had more than that, it could be looked at as, you know, odd.
Okay.
And we don't want that. We want to keep everything, you know, within normal user tolerances.
Mhm.
But it's a matter of, there's no way for me to answer that question for you exactly, because I don't know how many Google projects you have versus how many Yahoo. But for each device, you could have one of each of the projects. So
With
if you had,
with a maximum of 250 searches between those 5.
that's correct.
Okay.
So if you wanted the full 500 on those 5 projects, you would need 2 phones for that.
Okay, and I can put 5 different projects on there. And those
Correct.
5 different projects and all have unique domains, correct? Domain names.
Yes. Yeah. The reason I was confused on when you said domains is usually refer to a domain on a Google project or a
Mhm.
Bing project.
Okay, okay,
And also on a GMB, but on a YouTube, it's the URL, not the domain. It's the URL to the video. And
okay.
same thing with Amazon. It's the URL, not the domain.
So where does you had mentioned something about a person with the agency can go up to 1,000, 1,500 or
Yes.
whatever searches. How does that tie in if there's a maximum on each phone of 250?
On the agency version, you can actually set how many searches that you want for any given project, but you have to have the right amount of devices to justify it.
Okay,
Like if you put 1,000, let's say you put in there, I want 1,000 on this project, and you only hook up one device to it, you're still only going to get 250.
I get it.
So it's a matter of, it's all a matter of math and numbers of
Mhm.
how you create the projects.
So if you want 1,000 searches, you're going to have at least 4 devices, what you're saying.
That's correct. Yeah.
Now, are you able to max out, let's just say you had 2 devices and you were going to do 500 searches. That allows you, and you can do 5 projects. Can you do 12 keywords in all 5 of those projects, max that out too? At the
Yeah,
same time, as long as they're different.
absolutely. Yeah. Now, I don't know that you would want to do that,
Correct.
but you could. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So technically for each phone, you've got 5 projects times 250. So you'd get, what is that, 1,250 searches across those 5 projects
Right.
for that device.
Right.
And we don't have that yet for the Windows computer and the Apple, but we do have it on the Android so far.
Okay.
That was a big rollout. That was a huge, massive upgrade for us. And a lot of people applauded that one when we pulled that off.
Okay. Super.
John, may I jump in here for a second? Hello. First off, thank you for taking the time reading my SEO The Big Lie report. And I appreciate your congratulations on it. The one thing that I was not clear on was I do the reveal on page 10, basically. Would I be better off to not do the reveal on page 10, make them have to go someplace else and opt in to get the punchline on that? Or is just all in the report with the link to the appointment setting calendar sufficient?
No, I think the way you've got it definitely works. You could test it both ways and see if you get a higher conversion. But I think based on the way you had it all laid out, you're leading them up to creating demand and desire. And you might want to punch up the demand and desire for the actual scheduling of the call. So what you would do to beef that up is you would say, by scheduling this call, here's what you're going to get. Here's what that's going to do for you.
Okay.
I think, did we talk about the Whizgat last week?
No.
Okay, I think I did that on a private session with somebody. So Whizgat is Ron Popio, and he has passed away now, but he's the guy that used to do the infomercials. And he was actually brought in by Craig a few years back to do a presentation to Craig's group. The guy is absolutely phenomenal at selling stuff, or he was when he was alive. And he was the guy that did the As Seen on TV infomercials. And the way he would do it, he would take a person that had a great product, didn't know how to sell it because they couldn't sell their own product to save their life, basically. He would bring them on and basically he would interview them. And he used a formula he called Whizgat, which that stands for what's so good about that. So he would ask them, what about this? And they would say, you know, here's what it does. Because they were very passionate about their product. They could tell you all about their product, but they couldn't sell it to save their life. And the simple formula flipped that on its ear, and now they could sell it on TV like it was going out of stock. So
Okay.
every time the guy threw something out, he would Whizgat him. He'd say, what's so good about that? I talk about that in the ACT program as three-dimensionalizing the benefits. You need to bring to life what is so good about what you're saying. When you do, you'll bring emotion into their side and they will want it even more. So that when I say punch up your end, you know, a lot of people talk about what it is and nobody cares what it is. They care about what it does. What are they going to get out of it? So that's where Whizgat is absolutely brilliant. It's everything you say, you tell them what's so good about that. Super simple, but really, really effective.
That's super, John. I appreciate that. I want to, as I said, I want to be sending this out as an attachment to a press release, because I know some let you have attachments, some don't, but hey, we'll throw it all out there anyway. I've got
one thing, if you're going to do a press release, you might look to PR Reach. I haven't used them in a long time, just because I haven't needed any press releases, but they had a service where they would not only syndicate your press release, they would have a newscaster read it into, you know, they had like a screen, like it's a live thing on the news, and they give you that video that goes along with it, and they embed that. They embed the video link in your press release. And not only do you get to put the symbols, like as seen on ABC, NBC, and CBS, not only do you get to put those on your website, you get to put the news feed on there of the newscaster basically reading your press release. And here is the absolute beauty of that. They are going to read it line by line exactly as you wrote it. So if you want an endorsement of yourself, you can write exactly the words that are going to come out of their mouth.
The PR Reach is exactly who I was going to use. I've had them bookmarked for a long time, looking for something that would be appropriate to send out there. And I've basically gotten the wind knocked out of my sails for, well, next month, well, yeah, in 2 months it'll be a year, because of that Google slap I got and saying, nope, you're never going to advertise with us. But it had a silver lining in that, okay, what am I going to do that can be as good as, if not better than, you know, giving money to Google to run ads for me? What else is out there for sending stuff out there? And that long list of, you know, 18 products or whatever I ended up with were all in the search for looking for a better alternative to Google for traffic. And as it turns out, I now have a quiver full of arrows, so that quite literally, when I talk to somebody like you, I can just show them what the problem is, say, here's the problem you got. What are you doing? And because they're a manufacturer, they're doing something. They're generating $2 to $10 million in sale. And I say, okay, this is really, really good. And here's some places where we can, and I can do pay-per-click, I can do Google ads, I can do Google My Business. I mean, you just go down the list. You can't come up with a traffic source that I don't have access to, a unique, fundamental, proprietary thing that's just as good in their arena as SitePop is in yours. And I can weld all these things together to create, back to my arm, automated referral marketing, and
Yeah.
go for it through there. So thank you for that.
Yeah, there's another thing too that I haven't seen him do it for a while, but Frank Kern, every once in a while, he'll run a campaign teaching you how to be a consultant. And he has this whole system of doing a consulting business or getting someone to want to consult with him. And it's exactly like what you're trying to do. You know, he puts out a lead magnet, he gets them to schedule a call, and then he's got a short list of questions. And the list of questions is highly engineered to expose their weaknesses that they don't even know, they're not even aware of. And I remember one of his questions was, what analytics software are you using? And most of the manufacturers, unless they've hired somebody to do their stuff, they don't have analytics. They don't even know what that is. And so when they say that, he's like, oh, really? How do you know what's going on? And he's like, when you're paying for your ads, how do you know which one's effective? And all of a sudden now, what he's done under the hood, he's turned everybody that's taking their money into an enemy. And he is the hero. So he just created a whole front line of villains that are digging into this guy's pocket, taking his money and not caring about it. Just
Well,
with that one question.
Frank Kern right now, for anybody who's interested, just things how you brought it up right now, he is selling everything he has ever produced for a 97.6% discount. You can get everything he's ever done for, like $300. And I figured that's something I can't afford to not have. So I'm going to go look at the consulting one.
That means he's out of money again.
He runs that sale every 3 years, John.
Yeah.
Because I bought the same sale 3 years ago for two payments of $97. Yeah.
And what's on the back end is it's not $397, it's $397 a month. And you can cancel whenever you want, but it's $397 a month.
No. This is a separate one. That's the one that he uses that to opt into his inner circle or whatever he calls it now, network.
Yeah.
But he has done that also though, where it's all of the programs and you get to buy, it's like his legacy sale. He calls it something different every time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was his 50th. It was his 50th birthday sale, and it is everything, and it's only a one-time charge. So I mean, that's
holy shit. He's really out of money then.
I don't know if he's out of money or if he's just figuring out a way to get more money out of you if you haven't bought from him in a while.
Well, he started on the ad and then got COVID. So the first thing, so he's now also talking about how he cut and pasted the same ad while he was laying in bed with COVID, and he's showing the stats, and he pulled in close to $500,000 in the sales on that thing. And he's still I guess he's still going for it because it's still working.
Yeah. Well, I know, and this whole nother thing with the internet marketing space. There's, I know them and I like a lot of them, but I'm just going to call them what they are. They're scoundrels. Like when I bought Mass Control, right? The first time Frank released Mass Control, he did an absolutely masterful sales job. He followed the Jeff Walker product launch formula. He spread it out over 4 weeks. It was one lesson per week leading up to, you didn't even know what he was selling and you didn't know how much it was going to cost. But I guarantee you, if you were anything like me, at the end of the third week, you were ready to pay 10 grand for something you didn't even know what the hell it was, and you were gonna stand in line to not miss it. right? So when he actually released it, it was Mass Control, and it was $2,000. And he had 1,000 units. He sold it out 20 minutes. And I wasn't able to actually be there for his launch. I had an appointment I had to be at. So I told Barb, I said, look, here's what your job is today. You're going to sit at this computer with my credit card in your hand. And as soon as this button goes live, you're going to buy this damn thing. And I didn't know how much it was going to cost. And she didn't either. And she said, well, how much is it going to be? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. I said, that's a $50,000 card. I doubt it's going to be more than that, but that's your budget. I said, when that button goes live, you're going to buy that thing. And, you know, to my surprise, it was 1997. It was $2,000. But he sold it out in 20 minutes. That's $2 million in 20 minutes. Now, granted, there was a 4-week ramp up to the 20 minutes, and there was probably a 6-month ramp up to that to write all the stuff and plan it out and all of that. But still, that's a pretty damn good return on a really well-engineered marketing campaign. Going back to ACT, going back to, he could not have created that result without, and obviously he didn't follow the ACT formula because it wasn't even around, but it was. It's the ACT formula. I didn't create it. I just unraveled the mystery and put a spotlight on it so you could see it. He knew what it was. He was very familiar with the ad business, the ad agency business, how they work, how they do what they do. And if he wasn't, he wouldn't have got the result. You know, to your benefit, I've unpacked all that stuff and put it in a format where you can follow it and you can reproduce it. But, you know, nonetheless, he sold that. And here was the premise. He said, you 1,000 people are going to have a massive advantage over the rest of the world because no one else is ever going to get this. That this will never be revealed again. And he sold it, shipped it out. I had the box on my desk for about 6 months before I even opened it. And everybody on this call was still going on back then. That was like 2010, 2011, something like that. And everybody kept asking me, did you open the box yet? I'm like, no, I didn't open it. And it went on for like 6 months before I literally even opened the box to see what was inside it. And the only reason I even opened it was I said, the only way I'm going to go through this, I know this of myself. I'm not going to do this on my own. I said, if I commit to go through this with somebody, then I'll actually do it. So I invited, I think it was 6 people to come to my house in my living room. I said, look, we'll sit down. I don't know how long it's going to take. We'll schedule 3 days. We'll sit in my living room and we'll watch this together and we'll unpack it. And it was so successful. I think I did that like 12 times over the course of 2 years. And I charged them, I think I charged them $497 each. So you can see I got the money for the mass control back that I paid plus half again on the first round. So I took that $2,000 expenditure and, you know, over the course of 2 years, I probably made 50 grand with it. just watching videos with a small group of people and explaining what it meant, because I got it, you know, as soon as I saw it, I got it. I was 2 steps ahead of everything. But when other people saw it for the first time, it was a lot. It was too much information for them, and they needed things broken down and explained at the level and the way that I can do that. So it was very, very beneficial for them. The benefit for them was they got me explaining it, and they got it for a quarter of the price. So that's those 2 pretty good benefits. Quarter of the price, and they're actually going to walk away understanding it. And it's going to force them through in a 3-day period instead of sitting on their shelf for 6 months like I did. So you got to figure out what are your benefits and what's so good about them. And that will sell stuff for you.
John, you said that what's so good about you? Wasn't that Bob Circosta that come up with that?
It might have been. I thought it was Ron Popio.
Well, I don't know. I thought well, it
might
might have been Ron, but Bob. I mean, because I heard Bob teach that in Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which one did Craig have in?
I don't remember Craig having Bob in. I met Bob through Nancy Matthews.
Okay. It might have been Bob, because that name sounds familiar too. I was telling somebody about it the other day and I couldn't remember the name of the guy. So I started looking it up on Google and I came up with Ron Popio, and I was pretty sure that's who it was.
It might have been, and Bob might have got it from him. I remember Bob teaching at a seminar I was at that he talked about.
Yeah. Now that you mention that, I recognize that name as well.
He's on Home Shopping Network, and yeah.
They probably, I don't know, they probably have something in common. They probably work together at some point in time. But that formula,
it's like me telling everybody about the ACT program. I mean, come on, they think we work together. I just selling your program.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're about to expand ACT out into a whole nother sphere. I got invited in by Alignable. It's funny because I have had an Alignable account for years, but the only time I ever even log into it is when somebody, wants to connect on there. I'll just check the thing and connect with them, but I never even go in to use the thing. They've invited me in to be one of their paid group leaders, and they want to create, these paid groups inside of Alignable, and they've got 7 million customers. So I'm like, I'm going to get exposed to 7 million people. That could bring a few more people onto this call.
I know that's what Terry Harden, which is in my mastermind, that's what grew her, was she started using Patreon so much that Patreon's got her training people.
Yeah.
And that just exposes her, and it caused her network to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. But I can tell it was all from ACT. It was Sue Brook a couple of years back got connected with Alignable, and she did really well for them promoting them. And they gave her, a good job, a nice salary, and she travels all over the country in her RV putting on Alignable meetup groups. She's having the time of her life. It's just completely changed her whole life.
Yeah, she had a school, like one of those schools in California that was a whole business deal gone bad on her, and I'm glad she turned her life around after that. With Alignable.
Yeah, absolutely. I think her school was tutoring.
Yeah, tutoring school she had, and basically she sold it, and the person reneged on the deal, and
she was really badly damaged. And it was funny because I worked with her for a year, in the ACT Apprentice program. And when we unpacked like what her real thing was, it was damage from that deal gone bad. Mm-hmm. And what she wanted to do, she was so desperate to want to help basically like single moms, young women, and get them going in business. And the thing that I got to the bottom of with her, because she was kind of getting close to a financial crisis herself. And I said, look, giving back is great. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not poo-pooing the idea of giving back and helping people that need it, that can't afford it. But you have to do that from a place of power that you're not in right now. So you need to take a step back, and you need to figure out where the money is for you so you can become strong, so you can help those people that need it. And that in itself, it took me a while to get that through to her. But when it did, that's when she opened up to a whole new perspective. And that's when she made the Alignable connection. And like you said, just flipped her life, upside down for the better, and put her on the right track. And now she's able to do exactly what she wanted, which is help all these small business owners. And, from a position of power versus the position of no power. So it was really cool. And she has been telling them, she's been, touting and teaching, pieces of the ACT program in Alignable since she started with them. And they finally said, okay, who's this John guy? We need to meet him. So it was, again, it's another Oprah factor. It's a matter of someone in authority, in trust, in a position of trust, making a referral. It's like webinars. It's the same thing. You can look at the webinar owner or the webinar promoter. He's got the group. So he's Oprah. He might not have the span of Oprah, but he is Oprah for all practical purposes to you. And when he puts the Oprah touch on you, he's transferring everything he's built with that group right over to you. He's handing it to you on a silver platter when he introduces you. And that is why webinars sell so well the way that I do them. I never do a webinar by myself. I don't do it. I wait till I can get somebody. Even if I'm going to promote it as an evergreen, I will take somebody that introduced me that is the most well-known, and I'll use them on the intro to introduce me, because I want that Oprah factor passed to me because I've seen it. I know how powerful it is. And for me to not use that, it would be like, why would I even want to get out of bed in the morning if I'm going to work at that level? Eric Lawful, if any of you have been through there, he says, when you get out of bed, you should be operating at a level 10. And if you're not, just climb back in, go back to sleep. Because you're wasting your time. Get a good rest and come out at a level 10. And for me to do a webinar without that, I'm not at a level 10. So why do I bother? Right? And you cannot be as lazy as I am and be this effective if you're not at a level 10. It's like fishing with dynamite.
Yeah, I say, John, I'm going to do nothing today because I started yesterday and I didn't finish. So I'm you know what I mean? I'm not a quitter. I'm going to keep going doing nothing.
It's awesome.
Did you, John, did you read my thing I did from the stage at Craig's? He put it on his Facebook wall because he thought it was so funny.
No.
How to wash a cat. And I taught people how to wash a cat, how that's a good blog post.
Oh, that's cool. No, I'm actually rarely on Facebook.
That's the only place I know he put it up, but I'm like, it's the only way I know, because I won't share it because I'm telling people that's my new speech, to go out and tell this 20-minute joke and then give 5 minutes worth of training. Hell yeah. Why? Why not?
That's awesome. Well, hey, humor, it's great that you brought that up, because humor is like an icebreaker. A lot of times when you go into a room that is what I call a cold room, you need an icebreaker. You need some way to warm these people up to you. I use that when I know a lot of you have heard the story about how I got this whole thing started with the group of women photographers. And anyway, these women they weren't big businesses by any means, but they were very professional women. I mean, they dressed to the nines. They conducted themselves with a very high level of professionalism. And then here you've got me, with shorts and a Hawaiian shirt and flip-flops. And they invited me to speak on SEO to their group because they all needed it. None of them knew anything about it, and they wanted it to grow their business. So I was going to go and talk to them and give them a presentation, but I was like in a dilemma because I knew the level of their business, and I knew that at the time what I was doing, they were not going to be able to afford it. I was working with big manufacturers, and most of my manufacturers were paying me 10 grand a month, and I knew that's just like out of the specter of what these women are capable of. So I'm like, this is going to be kind of frustrating because they're going to want what I've got really badly and they're not going to be able to afford it. And that's not going to help either one of us. So that was where I got the idea of selling them a training program. And it was funny when I told Barbara, I said, I figured out what I'm going to do with these women. I'm going to sell them a training program of how to do what I do, and they can do it themselves. And she looked at me with a really odd look, and she says, you don't have a training program. And I said, well, that's right. And I'm not going to build one either unless they buy it. So either way, I'm off the hook, right? Either I've got a new business or I don't have to do anything. But I'm not going to do anything unless I can sell it. So back to the story, when I walked into the room of these women and I walked in as me, I did not resonate. And I got to tell you, it was the coldest room I've ever walked into. I was with, my shorts and a Hawaiian shirt, and it felt like I needed a parka. And I don't remember what the joke was, but I started off, I told them a joke and it broke the ice. And again, as it was a long time ago, I don't even remember what I said. And it was not planned. It was off the cuff. I walked in there, I'm like, holy shit, I need to do something. I need to do it fast. So it was somewhat out of desperation. I threw it out and it worked. But the humor angle, it worked really, really well. And I did the same thing. This one, some of you might think this is a little disgusting, but it was to a group of men, and it was dentists, and it was right after lunch, and they were all lethargic, and I had to wake them up. And, when I took the stage, I had a presentation for the dental industry, for SEO. And again, I mean, women, turn your ears off for just a second. I basically walked out and I said, I love business, but I don't like dentists. I go, the last time I went to the dentist, it was for a haircut. And these guys, I swear to God, they were lethargic after lunch and they just roared. And again, it was humor. It was to the right audience. If that was a mixed audience, I would not have done that joke. I would not have thrown that out whatsoever because I might have got knives thrown at me. But these guys, it brought them out of the coma they were in, brought them to life, and put them as putty in my hand. So it was, you got to do stuff on the fly. You've got to, it's like you're in battle. You've got to assess the battlefield and figure out what's not going to get you killed at the end of this day. So whatever it takes. And, and humor can be a really good tool in your belt. I don't talk about it anywhere in the ACT program, but it would fall under grab attention. It would fall under big idea. If you can attach it to the group, like I did with the dentists, I mean, it was a specific joke to them and they got it. And, and I wish I could remember what I told the women when I was in the group there. I just don't remember even what it was, but it broke the ice. It took the focus off me being unprofessional is what it did. It was a redirect, and it worked fabulously. They were no longer looking at me as, a loser, and they were looking at me as somebody they wanted to hear from. And that got me right into the presentation. And it was funny because Barb was there. She was in the back because she knew the woman that invited me to the thing. And it was so funny because I was getting, and this might sound really funny, but I got 3 marriage proposals by the end of that presentation from these women. And she had to say, no, he's already off the market. But most of the room bought the training program. And that was kind of a shocker to me because I'd never tried to sell one before. But looking back, it shouldn't have been a shocker because they all needed it. They wanted it. It was right on the target for what I was offering and what they wanted. But I walked out of that room going, oh shit, now what have I done to myself? I got to create this thing now. And I had no idea how to do it. I had not done video before. I had not done screen capture video. I had no idea when I walked out of that room how I was going to pull that off. But I did, and here we're still at it today. So it's more important to be able to sell something than to be able to know how to do it at the time, is the moral to the story. You've got to figure out what people want and give them what they want. It's your job to figure it out. That's where money will be made. Money's made in solving problems. Bigger the problem, the more cash that's coming your way. You got to find the angles. You got to figure out whoever it is that your audience is. You got to figure out not only what they want or what they think they want, but why they want it. In many cases, they will think they want something and you know it's not what they need, but you got to sell them what they want. You probably have heard Larry Broughton say that. I don't know where he got it. I've heard it from other places, but in Craig's group, he says it, you know, historically, he's been the one that's kind of his stick. Is you got to sell them what they want and then give them what they need. And it's very, very true. It's so true, because if you look at Ryan Deiss, the way he grew his digital marketer business, he did the exact same thing. He knew on the back end what they needed, but he also knew on the front end what they wanted. So he would go in and he'd sell them the front lead-in product really, really cheap, deliver it to them, and then in the process of the delivery of the thing that they wanted, he taught them what they needed, and then he made another sale. That's how he sold everybody the digital marketing labs. And he did that really, really well. And he did it on a very large scale. Like I was kind of poking at Richard the other day about, you know, the monumental effort that he was going to be taking on by creating all these products and all these front end offers.
No.
But that's what Ryan Deiss did. He did it, but he was not a one-man show. He had a whole team of people. That's a different game. When you've got, you know, a team of people at your disposal, you can do that. You can be, you know, much more cavalier in that effort because it's not your effort. If you're doing your effort, you have to have a pretty high level of self-preservation. and I have formed that over the years, a very high level of self-preservation. But nonetheless, that's what he did. He created a front-end product for people that wanted to write a blog post. He created a front-end product for somebody that wanted to create a WordPress site. Front-end product for somebody that wanted to install Google Analytics. He had like 50 of these things, and it was whatever people thought they wanted to know how to do. And he solved it. He solved their front-end problem. And usually it was a small problem. You know, it was something they thought they needed. They heard it somewhere, and then he scratched the itch. He gave them the product up front for like $7, $19.95. It was cheap. He scratched the itch, solved the problem, and led them to a much, much bigger sale. So it was masterful the way he did it. And he did it on such a large scale to the tune of tens of millions of dollars. He grew that business into a massive business. And as the funnel went, he talks about, what does he call it? A customer journey. He calls it a customer journey and a value ladder. So what he did, he sold a massive amount of people the $7 thing. And then he sold a smaller amount of people the digital marketer labs and got them on a recurring for $50 a month. And I say it's a smaller amount. It was still a massive amount of people. But then he sold a smaller amount on his high-end training programs for like $2,000. So here he's going from $7 to $50 a month recurring forever to $2,000 to $10,000 in custom trainings, private trainings for people. And then they go all the way up to the war room. And I don't know if any of you guys have heard of the war room, but that's, you know, I think it's $25,000 a year to be in the war room. And it's not by invite, but it's by application. You have to have certain criteria for you have to be at a certain level before they'll even accept you in there. I'm not sure, but I think the level is you have to have a temperature of 96.8 or something like that. And 25 grand, of course. But you know, you can see how they go from $7 to $25,000. And obviously there's not going to be very many people that take that journey all the way. But along the way, there's tens of millions of dollars in the middle. Even if only a couple of people took the $25,000 thing, that's just a little bit of cream on the top. You know, by the time they got there, they're stuffed with as much dessert as they can eat. They don't even need the cream. They're just greedy. So, but it's interesting. Do you guys look at like stuff like I do? Do you look at like the how and the why and like all these guys? I see exactly how they do everything.
John, there are people in this world that have certain gifts, and would be remiss if I didn't say my wife is one of them. There was a TV program that came on where this guy had a computer chip planted in his brain, and when he walked into a room, he had all the information in the world, and he could walk into a room he'd never been before, but with all the information, all the holograms and everything showed up in the room where it showed all the stuff. And we were watching, I thought, isn't that amazing? It's just, what, you mean everybody doesn't do that? You're one of those people, John.
Yeah, it's like, and it's very much like that. I mean, not holographic, of course, but I have a database of information going all the way back as far as I can remember, and even places I can't remember. But like for instance, when I walk into the cold room, I was able to access a joke that was appropriate for that audience, just bang, like that. It was already there. I just had to grab it.
Yeah, that's my problem. My jokes aren't appropriate for probably all audiences.
Oh, I have some that are appropriate for no audience.
That's mine. That's all of mine. Yeah. Half the time I tell them anyway. That's why I can't speak at George Bush's church anymore. Yeah, but anyway.
Oh, that's awesome. But that's what it's basically comes down to communication. If you look at the ACT program, it's doing exactly what I just did with Ryan Dice. It's breaking down his process so you can see how he did it. I do that. The ACT program is a breaking down of ad agencies, of how they do it. It's how they can take an unknown product and turn it into a household name. It's the process. And it a lot of people do it. And I don't know if they learn it or if it's just intuitive or if they're trained it over years or whatever. But there's a lot of people that do it. Like Frank Kern does it. He does it naturally. Where he got it, I don't know exactly. But the question is, can he tell you what it is that he's doing? No, probably not. There's a lot of stuff he's doing that he probably hasn't actually unpacked. And when I created the ACT program, I had made the same mistake. There was a lot of stuff I was doing that I hadn't unpacked and people didn't get it. That was where I took a step back and I took that group, that beta group, for a year, and I worked with them to figure out what I was missing that they needed to be able to accomplish it. And we unpacked all of it. And it was a real learning experience for me to do that. And I think it helped me be a better explainer, a better teacher, if you will. But it's communication. If you don't know, like people say, you don't know what you don't know. Well, I was very much there. I didn't know what I knew. That was the problem there, was I didn't know what I knew. So I was expecting everybody was on the same page, and they weren't, because I didn't know what I knew. And I didn't know how to transplant that into them so they knew the same thing. So like that was one of the things the group was asking me when I started walking them through. I'd say, okay, you do this and then you get here. And they're like, well, how did you get there? And I didn't know. I just went from here to there. But I had never thought about, okay, what was my process? What was my internal process of how I did that? And that's where you get all the little formulas in ACT. All the little formulas for every piece of it. Like the claim proof benefit thing, the the big idea, all of that stuff. All that stuff was all unpacked. It took a year to do it. And there's a lot to it. It's hard to sit down, like for me, it's hard to sit down with somebody and just explain the whole thing in one shot, because there's so much. I've probably forgotten more than I know. That's probably one of my biggest problems. It's all there. And I tell you guys, if there's ever anything you want to know, just ask, because I have access to it. It's just I don't know to bring it forward. So there's no bad questions. It's like the only bad question's the one you don't ask. If you need help with something, I probably have it there and it's accessible. You just have to tell me what it is that where you're stuck. So I can probably look at your system just like I looked at Ryan Dice's, just like I look at Google, just like I look at all of them, and I might be able to see what you're missing real quickly. So anyway, other stuff. Anybody got anything else you want to touch on here? Or?
John, Mariette here. I wanted to say that I sent you an email, and just for in case it's in your junk or spam or something, I just wanted you to look at it. I just wanted to ask you a question about a domain, but just if you have time later today, I'd appreciate it.
Gosh, Mariette, I need to connect with you. I need to get stuff made.
Well, you know how to connect with me, right, Sam?
I do, but like I'm in the middle of moving. I bought another house this morning and I'm selling this one. And
congratulations.
Like all this like is being torn down right now. So yeah.
Okay, well, I'll text you just to remind you.
Yeah, it's awesome that you've popped back into the group. I haven't seen you.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm only 2 hours later, but it seems like every Thursday I remember too late or something. But yeah, I haven't been. I always feel like I learn so much from you. So try to be more regular.
Well, cool. And I was just
thinking, most important call of the week, John. This is to me it's the most important call of the week.
I was just thinking about you the other day too, about also possibly getting some stuff made.
Some merch.
Yeah.
Merchandise.
This is what a person sent to us, Mary. I don't know if you can see on the computer, but this we were on this lady's show, so she took our emblem and logo and put it onto coasters and sent it to both of us as a thank you for being on her show.
Oh, that's cool. You can see the picture. Yeah. So John, even though I'm in Texas, I have printers and right there in Orange County and stuff. So wherever my clients are, I have printers across the country. So whether it's whatever you want, it's not like it's going to come from here.
Yeah,
so sure. Freight is a big deal lately, so I try to have products or apparel print where my clients are, so that freight is not too high.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you that don't know, Mariette has a company where she does all kinds of printed merchandise. So she can put your logo on stuff, phrases, sayings, jokes, Tim, if they're appropriate.
That's right. And it can be apparel or products, everything from drinkware to, anything that has your logo on. I just don't do business cards.
It's interesting you say that because, Mariette, if you go back through my Instagram on vacation, we found a distillery that actually had the what do they call it, with the whiskey bottle and the cups with the logo. And Gladys and I were like, we should do that for our podcast. a decanter and cups. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So Yeah.
Everybody likes something different.
I know.
Very good. Well, yeah, now I'm glad to learn from you again.
Oh, cool.
And I
Awesome.
need to get my sidebar back on. It's so good, but I somehow was out of town or something, or I was out of the country and I had turned the phones off. So I need to get it back on and get my benefit from it. So
Yeah, you might have to update the apps because we've done a lot of updates recently, and now you can. There's a whole new app for the Android phones.
okay, no, I'll definitely look into that. I've been very busy, but I will. Thank you.
All right. If you need help, just reach out to me.
Thank you, John.
All right. Anything else before we wrap up here? All right. Well, I am headed off. You can probably see I'm on the boat. I am headed out to the bluefin lands this weekend. Hopefully we're going to score some of those big bluefin tuna. So cool stuff. I will let you.
Yay, that's
let-
great. Thank you, John.
I'll
Go
let-
safely.
Go break a fishing pole.
Oh no, we don't break anything.
No, keep pulling it in.
Happy hunting.
We just
Thanks,
break,
John.
Thank you.
we break fish's will is what we break.
Well, have fun.
All right, guys, have a great week, and we will talk to y'all next week.
Thanks,
Thank
John.
you.
Be
Have
well.
fun.
Thanks, John. Bye, everyone.
Happy weekend.
Bye.